Hey guys, this is Thomas, the owner of Minecraft Frontiers, and today I'll show you a very big feature on our server, and that's plots. It's one of the core features, which means we decided on the feature a long time ago, and as a result plots are linked to pretty much everything that's going on in our server. So let me show you how plots work and how you can own a plot and change not only how the way it looks, but also how it works through plots. So all of these things you see here are plots, and there's quite a few plots around the world. Usually they're near towns, but you can find them in some. You can find some in the wilderness as well. And no matter where you find a plot, or if it's owned by a player, a plot always belongs to a town. So if you walk to the center of a plot, you'll see an info sign, and you see which town the plot belongs to. So this one belongs to Elpida, and you can see the plot ID, which is the name of the plot. So whenever you want to do something about this plot, you use the number 31, which is really important. Then you see where the plot is facing and the size of the plot. This size is 13 by 13, which is the smallest size we have, but already 13 by 13 is a pretty decently sized house. If you built a house here, it would be quite big. It's big enough to live in comfortably, and if it was built by the town, if it was, say, a crafting area, it would be a decently sized crafting area. So most of the plots we have are the small ones, but we have a few middle ones, and those are 21 by 21. So that's the plot you see here. And 21 by 21 is a really huge residence if it was for players. So if you built a house here, it would be a pretty huge house. And if it was built by the town, say if it was a crafting area or a guard house, it would be a very decently sized one. So a guard house of the medium size could hold quite a lot of NPC guards. And if it was a market, it would be able to contain quite a few shops. So I mentioned some plots can be owned by towns and some plots are rented out to the players. In both cases they belong to the town, so a plot is never fully owned by the player. But in some cases it's player rentable, which means a player can rent the plot and build a house there. So these are plots as well, and these are all player houses, which means a player had rented a plot out and built a house in there. So when a plot is rented by a player, it's the player who decides what gets built in there. And when a plot is not rented to the player, it's the town politician who decides what building is there. And being able to decide what building goes into a plot is a it gives you a lot of power basically. So let's walk to this plot here and let's show you how to rent a plot and build stuff in there. At the moment we use plot commands to do all the plot stuff, but eventually we'll be using NPCs you have to talk to basically build and run plots. But at the moment you can walk to a plot and you can use the plots command, so you do plots, and if you do info, it shows you all the information on the nearest plot to you. So here the nearest plot is 6. We can see it's currently empty, so there's no building in here. It's facing south, it's owned by Elpida, and it's rentable. It costs 100 coins per week to own, and it doesn't have an owner. The rentability and the coins, the fee, is something the politician decides. And they can decide for each plot separately, so it could be that some plots are much more expensive to own than others. This is the town center basically, so I'm guessing the plots here would be more expensive than, say, the plots near the docks there. But that's up to the politician to decide. And when it's rentable, it means a player can come in and they can pay the fee to rent the plot. Some plots, like this for example, are set to non-rentable. And keep in mind that's something the politician can change, so they can decide which plots belong to the players and which belong to the town. So if we have a look here, this one is non-rentable, which means a player cannot own it at the moment, and the town has to build inside this plot. But if it's rentable, I can walk in and I can rent the plot if I have the money in my bank account to pay the fee. So this plot is 6, it's rentable, it costs 100 coins to rent, and I'll pay 100 coins each week. If I stop paying, if I don't have money anymore, I'll lose control of the plot. But at the moment I have enough money, so let's do plots, rent, and then I do the number of the plot I want to rent. So this is really important to get this right, otherwise you rent something else you don't want. So plot rent 6, and boom, I paid 100 from my bank account to the treasury. So everything I pay into the plot for rent, it goes to the treasury and the town can invest it. So it's a nice form of income for the town. So now I do plots, info, and I can see I'm the owner of the plot now. So I can decide what gets built here. And I couldn't build here before. So I do plots, build, the number of the plot, so that's 6, and what building I want to build here. So at the moment we only have a test building loaded, so I do test. And this building costs money, so you want to make sure you're okay with the price before you build and that you have enough money. So I was charged 100 coins and I built the house. So now I can own the house and use the house as I see fit. And if I don't want it, I can build something else instead. For player housing, the main purpose of owning a house is status. So eventually we'll have kind of a nobility system and you want to have the shiniest house to impress other NPCs to let you do more stuff, and you will be able eventually to hold parties and balls in some of the bigger houses, and you'll have NPC servants looking after the house. But the town plots are also very important, possibly more important than the player ones, because a town plot lets you build stuff like a hospital to rest people, or you can build crafting areas to build advanced stuff. You could also build shops, so that's something an NPC would come in and trade their stuff at. You could build guard houses, which let you spawn NPC guards to protect the town. Or you could build stuff like shrines, so NPCs can go there to worship the gods. There's really a long list of buildings you can build. At the beta launch we'll have 9 different player houses, and we'll have a variety of town buildings with their different effects. And it's important to note that the plots themselves are shared between the town and the player, so there's no special plots that are only for players or only for towns. It's always the politician that has to decide if the plot is for players or for town. And it's a really tricky balance to strike, because if you choose a plot is for a player, it means it's not going to hold a town building anymore. And town buildings are quite important, it's something you want to make sure you have plenty of, so all the NPCs can craft and have farms, and you can respawn people at the right places, you can have enough guards to protect the town. And I'm guessing a politician wants to get re-elected, so it's a really tough balance to strike, because for every house you give to a player, you don't give a crafting space to a crafter. And it's going to be really tricky, I think, to get it right so that enough people like you to get re-elected. Yeah, but you can see it's a pretty robust system, and all of the plots are going to be useful as well. It's not just something that looks nice. If you build a market, it's a place that NPCs will automatically know it's a market, and they'll go there, they'll set up their shops. And as I said, it's not going only to change the way the world looks, but it's really going to change the way the world works. Because if I build a spawn point here, a hospital, and I die nearby, I'll be able to rest at the hospital. I'll have to pay some fee to the town for getting well again, but I'll be able to rest and get back into the fight quicker. So it's important to own the right plots and build hospitals in the right places where you expect people to die a lot. So I'm really looking forward to see how this town shapes up and what you players can come up with. And especially how the politicians make use of their money. Because if you build something as a player, you're paying it from your own bank account, but if you build it as a politician on behalf of the town, if it's a town plot, you build it from the town treasury, which is going to be tricky as well because you don't want to overspend on unnecessary stuff. You don't want to build 20 different hospitals and have 0 crafting stations. You want to really think about what you build. And I think this system is really robust, and we're going to expand. The system is going to expand quite a lot with future updates. So you'll be able to build more and more stuff. And the town plots will be more and more interesting, I think, as we get the NPC functionality. So it's really going to be, I think, an interesting system to work with and to learn. And it's a system that makes sure everything is really dynamic and keeps changing all the time. So I'd like to thank you a lot for listening, and if you have any more questions about plots, make sure to check our wiki, where we'll be posting a list of all the buildings you can build, so you can see what you can build as a town and as a player. And if you have any more questions, make sure to hit us up on our forums and ask the questions there, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So I'll see you in the frontier.